Majority Leader is recognized.
I thank the gentleman for yielding, and I rise in support of this legislation. First, let me say that there were two messages that came from this election, in my opinion. Maybe others as well, but certainly these two. One, we need to grow jobs. We need to have more jobs for our people. We need to grow our economy. The second was we're very concerned about the deficit. I agree with both of those conclusions in this election, and I think we need to do both of those. To some degree, they're contradictory because in the short term, in order to grow the economy, we've got to invest in the economy, and we need not take money out of the pockets of consumers. Now, as a result of the tax bills that were adopted in 01 and 03, because we wanted not to have the scoring for a longer period of time and the deficit displayed exploding, they were made to sunset. That is to say, the tax cuts were put in place and then they were sunsetted. It so happens they sunset at the end of this month. That would mean, normally, if we allowed that Republican policy, which I did not vote for, go into effect, that the taxes would increase on everybody. What this bill does, it says, no, we want a cap. And we want to make sure that no American has any tax increase on the first $250,000 of their income. No American. 100% of American taxpayers would be exempt under this bill from any increase in their taxes on January 1st of this year. One of the other messages that the American public said to us, when you can reach common ground, when you can reach agreement, why don't you guys take it? Why don't you move forward where you can agree? And then spend time on that which you cannot agree upon, but at least do that on which you can reach common ground. Now, I haven't heard all the debate. I've been in other meetings. But my suspicion is that almost everybody, if not on the floor, wants to make sure that the first $250,000 of income of any American is not subjected to a tax increase on January 1st. That's my conclusion. Now, maybe somebody will come up and say, no, you're wrong on that. But if so, I stand to be corrected. But we have reached common ground, I believe, on that proposition. That's what this bill carries forward. Now, we have disagreements. As I said, the second message was they're very concerned about the deficit. I'm very concerned about the deficit, which I think, as I was quoted in the paper yesterday or the day before, saying it is the most critical challenge that confronts this country, that impacts on every other challenge we have in this country, including our ability to bring taxes down and create tax reform. Now, we don't have agreement on other elements of the Republican tax program of 01 and 03, which will sunset pursuant to that policy on December 31st. And the issue, therefore, before this House right now is whether we're going to hold hostage the first $250,000 of income of every American, or we're going to say, no, we have agreement, we'll resolve that, and we will then contend on the other issues. Whether we argue about the necessity to cut taxes on those over $250,000, on impacting small business, on growth of the economy, all of that's a legitimate argument. But I really do not believe we have disagreement on what this bill intends to do. It's just that some people think it doesn't do enough. I understand that. But very frankly, my friends, in the House and in the other body, we have been holding hostage American policy to agreement on 100%, or in the case of the Senate, on 60%. The American public are frustrated by that. I'm frustrated by that. I think that's not the way a legislative body works. A legislative body works by when you can create consensus, move forward. Now, maybe somebody will get up and say, no, we shouldn't. We should increase the first $250,000 of income and let that sunset. I doubt that anybody said that. I doubt anybody believes it. But if you don't believe it, any member of this House, then vote for this bill. Not only does it say income, but it takes earned income tax credits. It takes capital gains. It takes child care tax credits. And says that the first $250,000 of income will not be subjected to an increase. I can't believe we don't agree on that. And I'm hopeful that every member will vote for this. Now, I frankly want to say I don't think this is the final package. We know that the Senate has disagreement. We know that the White House has its own view. But this vehicle is going to be critically important if we're going to move this issue forward. And some people on the other side say, let's act, and let's act now. Fine. Then let's give them a vehicle on which to act. Revenue issues, as we know, have to initiate in the House. Now, this vehicle is a vehicle that I think will be used and can be used by the other body to affect consensus policy. But let us not hold hostage that on which we agree to on which we do not agree. So I would urge my colleagues, vote for this legislation. Let's move this forward. Let's give the confidence to American working people that we are united in the conviction that in this tough economy, at this time, they ought not to see an increase in their taxes on January 1. That's what this vote is about, and I urge my colleagues to support it. And I thank the gentleman from Michigan and the chairman of the committee, and yes, Mr. Camp, the ranking member who will soon be chairman of this committee, for their efforts on this bill, notwithstanding their disagreement on its substance. And I thank the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Levin, for yielding. And I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Michigan. Thank you, Mr.